Today is Thursday the 14th of August 2014, and today we're looking at this giant object in the STEREO A HI2 camera, and this is a video by BPEarthWatch. BPEarthWatch and Thornews have done a couple of videos on this object in recent times. Thornews originally reported that he thought maybe it was a neutron star, and BPEarthWatch, although in this video he says for a while he thought it was a lens flare, he's now thinking that it's a solid object. So we're going to take a look at this and see if we can figure out what it is and confirm what's going on here. So first of all, let's have a listen to a part of BPEarthWatch's video.
Last month we were watching Comet Jacques come very close to Venus, and the tail looked like it went right across it. Remember that? And everyone kept asking me in that first blue area, that semicircle, what that was. And because it never moved, and the object that was behind it never moved, that was showing the most density, it looked like a corrupt lens, or a scratch on the lens, or a lens flare, but it stayed there. But now it's moving, and the object that was behind it is moving, and it appears to be stronger. This curve or shield or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, I've never seen anything like it. And I had written it off, to be honest with you, as some type of lens defect, as I imagine a lot of you guys that watch this had too, because it never moved. But now it's moving. Check this out. It's moving down and to the left, and the object is moving that is very close to it. Notice also in this image that there's two lines that are connecting now this shield as it moves, or whatever it is. Again, I'm calling it a shield, and I'm calling it a giant object. I don't know what it is, but the shield is responding to the movement of that now. Looking at
Okay, so I'll stop it there. So obviously BPEarthWatch seems a little bit confused as to what this object is. He's now calling it a shield. He's calling it a solid object, even though we can see the background stars moving behind it. But let's see if we can work out what's going on. So first of all, I'm going to go into Starry Night, and we're going to have a look at the current situation of where STEREO A, STEREO B, the Earth and Venus are in relation to each other. So this is as of today's date, 14th of August 2014 UTC. We can see that we've got the Earth over here, we've got Venus here, and we've got STEREO A and STEREO B. Now STEREO A, the HI2 camera, is looking in this direction here. So we've got Venus in the field of view. If I open it up in this view here, you can see the approximate field of view of the STEREO A HI2 camera with Venus, excuse me, with Venus pretty much in the center there. Now we can see that the orbit of Venus as it comes around the Sun. And if I step the days forward, you'll notice how the planets and also STEREO A and STEREO B are moving around the Sun in an anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so if I bring that back to where we are now, if we take a line from STEREO A towards Venus, we can see that line, if we extend it out, is pretty much at a tangent to the orbit of Venus. In other words, it runs along the edge of this orbit here. This is called greatest elongation. Okay, so we've got greatest elongation there. If Venus was on this side, then greatest elongation would be down here. So at the moment we've got Venus right there, and as it comes around in its orbit, and STEREO A is basically ahead but following, if you like, if you know what I mean. It's ahead but it's looking back. So Venus is following the STEREO A camera. So Venus is actually approaching the STEREO A from its STEREO A's perspective. Okay, it's basically coming almost straight towards it as it comes round in its orbit. Now if we look at the other view, this is the point of view from STEREO A. So we're actually looking from the STEREO A camera here, looking towards Venus. Now if I turn on the orbit here, you see we can see how Venus has come around the back of the Sun from down the bottom here, and it's actually come around and it's coming towards the camera as it heads around in front of the Sun. Now this explains why Venus appears to have sort of stalled. Normally we see the planets crossing the field of view in the STEREO A or STEREO B views, but because it's actually come around from behind the Sun and it's come out to its greatest elongation, and then it's sort of coming towards the Stereo A camera. It seems to have stalled as it's coming towards us, but over the next few days and weeks it's actually going to be heading back this way. So let's go to the images from Stereo A HI2. Now these are the recent ones from this is 9th of August. I've got 315 images loaded up here. So let's play that, and we can see this shield, as BPEarthWatch calls it, right here. This is Venus, and notice that as it flicks over to the last image, we'll see this jump as we go from the starting date to the end date and looping around for the dates that I've set the range. There we go, you see the jump there. So this object, this shield, is actually moving downwards and around as Venus is actually heading upwards. Now let's see if I can speed that up any so it's more apparent. So we can clearly see, if I position my cursor there and just leave it stationary, we can see that Venus appears to be moving upward, and as Venus moves upward, then the shield moves downward and around. So what is this shield? What are we seeing here? Well, let me just stop that. I can actually simulate this also in Starry Night by turning on the lens flare effect. Okay, so now you can see that we've got this shield thing here. Now this one is created from the glare off the sun. In Starry Night I can't produce one off Venus, it's not part of the software, but this is a simulated lens flare from the sun, and it will show us the same thing. So as I move this around, you can see how that lens flare follows the sun. It's always pointing towards the sun, like that. It's always pointing towards the sun, and it gets brighter or dimmer depending on the position. Now this is actually what's happened with Venus as it's come into the field of view of the Stereo A HI2 camera. It's remember that Venus is a very bright star-like object. It's the brightest planet in our sky. The next brightest is Jupiter. So as Venus has moved into the field of view of the Stereo A camera, it is giving off this lens flare effect, and that is what we're seeing in these images. Now you might say to me, well, that's just BS, because why haven't we seen it before? Well, that's what some people have said. In fact, we have seen it before, so let's take a look. This is from August 2014. The previous time that Venus was at greatest elongation like this was around about the 18th of October 2012, and what do we see? We see the shield again. The next one before that was, what have we got, 11th of January 2011, and again we see the shield. And before that we've got 7th of April 2009, and again we've got the shield. And before that was around about 30th of June, early July 2007, and again we've got the shield. Let's just start that. You can see some of those images. I'll just speed it up for you. So yep, there is the shield, there is Venus, and again I can check any of these dates in Starry Night and confirm. For example, let's check that last one. So early July 2007. So I'm going to bring this back to July and 2007, and my field of view has moved because that has to be set up specifically for each view. But you can see that Venus is at its greatest elongation in its orbit as it comes around, and this is when it creates this the shield effect. One of the reasons being was, if I zoom right into it, you'll see the illumination of Venus. This is like a last quarter view of the moon if we were seeing it in our sky. First quarter or last quarter, it looks like a half a moon, and so it is giving off that glare, which is creating that that lens flare and that shield effect that we see, just like in the simulation from the sun, this one here. So that's all it is. It's a lens flare, and that accounts for why it is transparent in the images. Let's go back to the first one and play it. Obviously we can see the background stars through it, so it's clearly not a solid object, and the reason why it's moving down is because Venus is moving up in the field of view. Now Astronomy Live has done a number of videos on his channel, and I recommend that you go to his channel, Astronomy Live, and check out these 3 videos. Venusian lens flare masquerading as neutron star. This was the video that he produced in response to Thornews. Venus lens flare part 2, Venus lens flare part 3, and I'm aware that Astronomy Live is currently working on a 4th video where he's going to tie this all together. So I recommend that you go to his channel, subscribe, and watch out for his latest video. As always, do check out my Facebook discussion page, Voices of Reason to Explain X, VORTEX. You'll find a link in the description area. Thank you for watching. Hello YouTube, this is Dazza the Cameraman. Today is Thursday the 14th of August 2014, and today we're looking at this giant object in the STEREO A HI2 camera, and this is a video by BPEarthWatch. BPEarthWatch and Thornews have done a couple of videos on this object in recent times. Thornews originally reported that he thought maybe it was a neutron star, and BPEarthWatch, although in this video he says for a while he thought it was a lens flare, he's now thinking that it's a solid object. So we're going to take a look at this and see if we can figure out what it is and confirm what's going on here. So first of all, let's have a listen to a part of BPEarthWatch's video.
Last month we were watching Comet Jacques come very close to Venus, and the tail looked like it went right across it. Remember that? And everyone kept asking me in that first blue area, that semicircle, what that was. And because it never moved, and the object that was behind it never moved, that was showing the most density, it looked like a corrupt lens, or a scratch on the lens, or a lens flare, but it stayed there. But now it's moving, and the object that was behind it is moving, and it appears to be stronger. This curve or shield or whatever you want to call it, I don't know, I've never seen anything like it. And I had written it off, to be honest with you, as some type of lens defect, as I imagine a lot of you guys that watch this had too, because it never moved. But now it's moving. Check this out. It's moving down and to the left,